It's an interesting time for business. Tariff and trade policies are dynamic, supply chains are squeezed, and cash flow, it's tighter than ever. If your business can't adapt in real time, you are in a little bit of hurt. So how do you get full visibility and adapt in real time? Over 42,000 businesses trust NetSuite by Oracle, your AI-powered business management suite. It brings accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR all under one roof. NetSuite is the #1 cloud ERP for a reason. It's your single source of truth, giving you the data and control you need to move quickly. Real-time forecasting helps you move into the future with confidence, and with AI built in, you can automate the busy work and focus on strategy. NetSuite helps you see what's stuck, what it's costing you, and how to pivot fast. If I were running a business with a lot of moving parts, I'd use NetSuite for full control over everything. Tame the chaos with NetSuite. If your revenues are at least in the 7 figures, download the free ebook, Navigating Global Trade, 3 Insights for Leaders at netsuite.com/SPI. That's netsuite.com/SPI. Hey, I get it. You've worked really hard to build up your business, and it's doing great. So great that you need help now. The most important thing for your business is to hire the right people to support it. So how can you find amazing candidates quickly? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you stand out and hire fast. And with Sponsored Jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. And it makes a huge difference. According to Indeed data, Sponsored Jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. And it's one of the largest databases of job seekers, too, giving business owners access to a wide range of candidates. And one of the things I love most about Indeed is the job alerts feature. I get notified when new candidates apply. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/smartpassive. Just go to Indeed.com/smartpassive right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/smartpassive. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring Indeed is all you need. You spent months building towards launch day, but when the clock hits 0, your site crashes. Bots swarm, and loyal fans rage on Reddit. That's not good. Fanfare was built to stop that. Fanfare is the drop platform made for high-pressure moments, stampede-proof infrastructure, verified waitlists, and bot filters that actually work. Instead of refunds and rage, you get retention and revenue. And that sounds great to me. Your next launch shouldn't be a gamble. Get Fanfare's 5-step hype drop playbook and learn how to bulletproof your drop at fanfare.io/playbook. Again, that's fanfare.io/playbook. This is the Smart Passive Income Podcast with Pat Flynn, session number 215. Wait, when is this episode supposed to go live again?
Welcome to the Smart Passive Income Podcast, where it's all about working hard now so you can sit back and reap the benefits later. And now your host. He'd protest against a Back to the Future 4 movie, Pat Flynn.
Still using a copy-paste website? Break the template trap with Framer. Whether you're overwhelmed by traditional site builders or frustrated with cookie-cutter designs, Framer gives you the freedom to create a site that's professional, polished, and uniquely yours. Framer is the design-first, no-code website builder that lets anyone ship a production-ready site in minutes. It's free to start, allowing you to browse hundreds of pixel-perfect templates or even design something on your own on a totally blank canvas. Add bold animations like appear effects, text effects, parallax scrolling, scroll animations, looping animations, and much more in seconds. The built-in AI handles the heavy lifting, generating starter layouts, and can even translate your entire site to any language. Ready to build a site that looks hand-coded without hiring a developer? Launch your site for free at framer.com and use code SPI to get your first month of pro on the house. That's framer.com, promo code SPI. Framer.com, promo code SPI. Rules and restrictions may apply. Do you know the secret to businesses that are scaling faster than ever? They're using Upwork to tap into a diverse pool of skilled freelancers across various industries. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts who are ready to help you take your business to the next level. I've personally used Upwork myself and can vouch for it. Posting a job on Upwork is easy. With no cost to join, you can register, browse freelancer profiles, get help drafting a job post, or even book a consultation. From there, you connect with freelancers that get you and can easily hire them to take your business to the next level. Upwork makes the entire process easier, simpler, and more affordable with industry-low fees. Post a job today and hire tomorrow with Upwork. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That is Upwork.com to post your job for free and connect with top talent ready to help you grow your business. That's Upwork.com. Again, Upwork.com. Hey, everybody, what's up? Welcome to episode 215. We are closing in at the end of May here, and I'm really excited to bring on a guest who is a member of my team. This is somebody who we hired recently to take over the management of the content. She is the person in charge of making sure things get posted on time and all these sorts of things. We're going to talk all about her role, what she's gotten herself into, how she's been able to tackle and actually make the SPI content more consistent and better over the last 6 months to a year, and some of the plans we have moving forward too, and also some tips for you to help you better manage your editorial calendar, to stay consistent, and how to get ahead as well. So this is Jana Marin, who is the content editorial manager. I keep messing up exactly what her title is, but she'll tell you what it is, and this is going to be a lot of fun. So here we go, Jana Marin, who I also like to call the Whip Cracker. Here we go. What's up, everybody? I'm so happy to welcome another member of my team of Team Flynn here. This is Jana Marin, who is the managing content editor, and we'll get into all what that means and why she came on board, what she sort of got herself into, and how she got us out of a kind of a weird, for those of you who've been following SPI for a while, my content on the blog specifically, but even across the podcast and Ask Pat and all that stuff. I mean, it's a lot of content, right? And for different periods of time, I'd be more consistent than others, and I felt like I really needed to get serious about the content on the site and bringing somebody else on board, and that's why I'm so excited to welcome Jana today to talk all about that. So Jana, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Pat. Thanks for having me.
So managing content, I always screw up like the title. Like, can you just tell everybody what is your official title and what does a person like that do?
Yeah, so I usually use the term managing editor to describe what I do, and the reason for that is that it encompasses kind of like two aspects of the role, one being like a traditional project manager and one being somebody who looks at the project management from an editorial perspective.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally makes sense. So basically like a specialized project manager. I think people know what a project manager is and does, and so specifically for the work that everybody has experienced on SPI, like what have you had a hand in? What can people know that you are helping to do?
Sure. So when you think about SPI, there's a bunch of different types of content that you're producing on a regular basis. You have your blog, you have your two podcasts, the Smart Passive Income podcast, Ask Pat, and you have SPI TV. Mm-hmm. So when I came on board, I believe the team was primarily helping you produce your podcast, Ask Pat and the Smart Passive Income podcast. And your production was, you were like working a week out. So on Sunday nights, you were recording your Ask Pat episodes for the coming week.
Right. And
you would deliver those to Mindy on Monday, and she would edit those all on Monday and get them scheduled and ready to publish. And same thing with your podcast. You were recording your podcast episodes maybe 2 or 3 weeks in advance at the most, and then they were getting produced within a week so that they were ready to publish on your Wednesday publishing schedule. Mm-hmm. So what I did when I came on board was I looked at your production schedule and I said, okay, ideally it would be much better for you and the rest of the team if we could start banking your content. And by banking content, I mean at the end of March, all your April content is done and ready to go. It's scheduled and it's just in the queue waiting for its published date.
And what is the benefit of doing that? Like obviously there's benefit, like you already have it done, but you said for the team too, like how does batch processing and having things in the bank actually help out the rest of the team too?
Yeah, so for the rest of the team, what it does is we can batch produce a lot of content at the same time. So if you have all of your episodes from advance, those can all be batch edited. And in addition to just the batch editing or batch production, it just gives us much more cushion for anything that could be delayed. And it does happen. There are delays, and often there's nothing we can do to prevent that from happening. But when we're working so far in advance, it's not something that we're still trying to scramble and get it completed in like a day or two to meet the publishing deadline.
Right. Everybody just feels a lot more comfortable, peace of mind, and I definitely have that too. Jen, before we move on into more of the SPI stuff and actually how somebody who's listening on the other end could incorporate some project management into their editorial calendar and whatnot, whether they hire somebody else or not, and we'll talk about all the tools and the great things you could use to help you with that. Talk about kind of what you were doing before you came on SPI. Like, what was your experience before Matt found you and you came on board?
Okay, sure. So Matt, who is the head of the Winning Edits team, he and I have been working together sporadically over the years because I've been working as a full-time freelancer for about 10 years. And in that capacity, I've been doing a variety of editing projects, from doing book-length manuscripts to copy editing to this type of editorial support that I'm providing to you and the SPI team. And as a freelancer, I've kind of been doing the typical cobble together different types of jobs to make a full-time living. So I have also been a college professor teaching college composition at the local community colleges where I live. And I also publish my own magazine. So between all those different projects, that's what I've been doing for my full-time career. And prior to freelancing, I was working for a publishing company in the area where I live. When I started with the company, they had one local community magazine, kind of like a typical consumer lifestyle magazine. And I was the managing editor there. And over the course of the 4 years where I worked there, we launched a number of additional magazines, both monthly, annual, and bi-monthly. So by the time I left, I was managing somewhere between 6 and 8 publications on a monthly and annual basis.
Wow. So you definitely had the experience of managing a bunch of different projects like you do for me, and it was all in and around, writing and editing, which is perfect.
Yeah, it's kind of my sweet spot.
That's awesome. So when you came on board and you saw that, we were only a week ahead at a time on AskPat and maybe a week or two on SPI, and the blog content was just being written as it was being published, essentially, or published as it was written. Like, how did you approach? Like, how do you approach that, and how do you make it all happen?
Yeah, so I use a spreadsheet initially. Spreadsheets are awesome for doing this type of work where you can just kind of lay everything out and get like the big picture visualization of what are your published dates, and working backward from those published dates, what are the different production steps that happen before a piece of content is completely finalized and ready to publish. So with your podcast, for example, right before publishing, we do around a QA. Right before QA, we're producing the show notes and the featured image for that episode. Right before that, we're doing the transcript production. Right before that, the episode is getting edited with your intro, the main episode interview, and your ad spot. And right before that, you are recording those intros and ad spots and interviews and making sure those pieces are all uploaded to Dropbox for the audio engineer. So there's a lot of moving parts, and just understanding who's doing what and how much time each person needs to complete their component, and mapping out those dates backwards, like I said, from the published date. And so then I'm looking at, okay, how are all those publishing dates lining up? So for your blog, you want to be consistently publishing blog posts on Mondays. Your podcast was consistently publishing on Wednesdays. Your TV episodes are publishing on Fridays. And then your AskPat is publishing every day, Monday through Friday. So I'm looking at how are those publishing dates lining up, and then how are the other task components, production components also lining up, and how can I create a production schedule for all of those components that make sense for the team. So like I was saying before, they can batch produce different tasks. Mm-hmm. And I just mapped those all out on a spreadsheet so that I knew what the dates were and I knew what the timelines were. So I knew that, okay, to accomplish like having all of your podcasts produced a month in advance, you actually need to be recording your interview episodes almost 2 months in advance. So I know what that leeway time frame is for each task in the production.
Right.
And then we started using this really awesome tool called Co-Schedule, which is where I actually input all of those tasks and dates and deadlines, and they're all attached to the individual piece of content, so we can see it on the calendar when the content is scheduled, and we can click in and see the task list and the deadlines attached to each one of those tasks.
This sounds like a lot, and it is
a lot.
It is, which I think is kind of scary for some people who might be listening. If somebody were blogging or podcasting and or both, and they just want it to be more consistent, what's maybe one or two things they can do to just really make that happen?
Yeah, I would say look at the calendar and think about the next 3 to 6 months. And this is something else that I helped implement for you, Pat, is we effectively have the whole rest of 2016 planned out in terms of like focus themes for each month. And what that does for you is when you sit down to look at, okay, pretty soon you're going to have to be planning your content for June, and you're going to be picking out the specific blog post and the specific podcast guests. But instead of just kind of starting from scratch, we have a focus theme for that month, which is kind of like a jumping off point for you so that you can then kind of drill down into that topic more specifically with each of your blog posts, with each of your podcast guests. So somebody who's doing maybe only a blog or only a podcast could do something very similar where you look at the next 3 to 6 months and think about, okay, what are the general broad stroke topics that you'd like to cover in those 3 months, and just map that out. So do like 1, 2, 3 for the next like May, June, July. And if you're really ambitious, keep going, because maybe you're doing some brainstorming and you just get a long list of topics and you can just plug them into the next 3 months after that, August, September, October. And before you know it, you have the whole rest of the year with at least those general themes. And then when you're ready, you can go back and say, okay, now if I want to be consistent for one post every month, whatever that theme is for June, what are four potential topics you could cover in the month of June that would give you those 4 blog posts for a weekly consistent blog post.
Yeah, thinking about it like that has been really helpful. And the nice thing about that too is you get to see sort of a bird's eye perspective of what's happening over the next 3 months, 6 months, and for us, a year sometimes. So we get to see where we can implant launches. Where does the book launch fit into all this? And does it even make sense? And a lot of times, if there's something major coming up, like the recent Will It Fly book launch, we'll make the content kind of all lead up into it perfectly. Like I think the content in and around February, which is launch month, was not just about the book launch, but book launches in general. And we talked to a number of people on SPI TV and podcasts all about book launching. That's when we interviewed Daniel, who was in charge of the launch team, and it kind of all made sense. And it just made it a nice, it wasn't 100% every post, every Ask Pat, every podcast episode was about book launches, but the jump off point for making that happen was huge. And I think it was a better experience for everybody listening and watching and reading, but also for me as a producer of all that stuff. Having that jump off point, like you said, is really important, because the last thing you want to do is just stare at a blank screen or a spreadsheet and just be like, what should I do now? And, that's wasted time. And it's obviously you're going to have to think about what you're going to want to do. But if you kind of work general and then get specific, it becomes a lot easier. And I think that was really helpful. That was one of the most helpful things, was creating those theme months. And even though we don't stick to it in terms of every piece of content on it, it is a great jump off point and allows me to think much clearly, or think more clearly or clearer,
right,
or whatever. See, this is why I have an editing team now to help me with things like grammar and spelling, which I've actually gotten. That was a good lead in. I've actually gotten a lot of comments from people saying, Pat, like the quality of your content, like it's your voice. I could tell it's you, and I love the topics, but just the quality of the writing is so much better. And I think that's just partly due to the fact that I've been writing a lot more now and more consistently, making a habit of it. And we'll talk more about my production schedule in just a second. But also because we have an editorial team who's looking at that content or reading it after I write it to make sense of it. Can you talk about that process? Because I think a lot of people are at the point where they've been blogging for a while and they're wanting to up and level up their writing for their audience.
Yeah. Just as you were saying that, it occurred to me, another benefit to implementing this schedule that we have now for you is we're spending more time crafting your blog posts. So I think you said earlier that before I came on and before we implemented this process, you were just writing posts as they were being published. So you would write and publish.
Yeah.
So now with this production schedule, you're spending much more time crafting those blog posts. The way that I have your blog production schedule set up is you're starting to draft your post 1 week. The next week is your deadline for having the draft completed. Then there's a deadline for me, and I review that post for just general development, structure, organization, clarity, and I'm often leaving comments for you like, hey, this maybe doesn't quite make sense. Can you reword this? Looking for that type of stuff. And then you revise it one more time if there are necessary revisions and finalize it. And then we have a copy editor review the post. And all this is happening, within that 3 or 4 weeks before the post is actually published, and then we're publishing. So it's awesome to hear that you're getting feedback from readers that they have noticed an improvement in the quality, because we are spending the time on making sure those posts really are quality content for the audience.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's been great. And again, a question for everybody else out there who may just be starting out and can't yet afford an editor or a team like this. What are some things that they can do to make sure that as they're starting to get more ahead in their content schedule, that they're going in there and they're just really taking, not just publishing as they go, but actually taking some time to go through those posts before they publish? What are some things they could do? Or are there any tools that they can use or a certain process to actually just make sure things are good before they hit publish?
Sure. A couple of things. First of all, I would say just give that piece of content, whatever you're writing, give it some time and space. So you have a draft, leave it alone for a couple days, and then come back to it, because then you really are returning to it with some fresh eyes, and you'll see things that you don't see when you're mired in the writing and in the drafting.
I love that tip. Another
thing is have someone else read it. It doesn't have to be a professional editor. It could be your best friend. It could be your spouse, your significant other, just someone else who has another perspective, who, again, will see things that you don't see, and who really is coming at it from a reader perspective and can let you know when something doesn't make sense or when something's unclear. Because oftentimes what happens as a writer is you know what you mean in your head, and so it makes sense to you when you read your own words. But it may not make sense to someone else who's reading it and doesn't know what's going on inside your head, right?
Right. The one thing that's worked for me is actually reading them out loud. And
yeah, that's a great tip too.
Yeah, I mean, it's so crazy how much I catch when I hear myself speak whatever it is that I'm reading. It's a quick tip, and I know a lot of us were like how I was before, where you finish something and you're like, yes, it's done, published. Like you're done with it. You want to get it out there into the world. Do yourself a favor, just at least spend a few minutes or an extra 15 to 20 minutes and do these things that Jana was saying, or send it off to somebody. Hopefully you're giving yourself some flexibility in terms of publishing schedule so that you do have time to do some of these things. But if anything, at least, read it out loud. I think these things are really important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's get into other types of things that you've been helping out with. Emails have also been helpful, and there's certain emails that I send out every month. For example, the book club email and emails to ambassadors. There's a special group of people on a special email list who get early access to things, and I only open that up to certain people sometimes. But those are emails that have to be consistent also. And also the digest email. There's a digest email that you could all sign up for, where you can get all the content that have been published across all the different platforms in one convenient email to you. I believe if you go to smartpassiveincome.com/digest, it may open that up for you. I'll have to, well, not yet, but by the time this episode goes live, that will be available for you, where you could sign up to get those weekly emails that, again, get sent to your inbox, covers all the podcasts, blogs, Ask Pat episodes. Anytime I do live streams or something, you get the replays there too. And we have, tens of thousands of people on that. So those are important emails that go out to people. And we do those far ahead in advance too. And we use a number of tools to help. You mentioned a couple tools already, CoSchedule. One of the things that I love that we've implemented, Jana, is that whenever we're going to be starting a new piece, we create a Google Doc for it. And you just, in CoSchedule, drop that Google Doc link. Like you create the Google Doc link for all of those pieces of content. And then all I have to do is go into CoSchedule and see what my next task is. And if it's something related to writing, I hit that task and the link for the Google Doc is already in there, and I can just boom, start writing. And I know what I'm writing about. Sometimes I go into there and you and Mindy or whoever else, you'll actually put in some of your own thoughts. Like, oh, this should probably be about this, or make sure to cover this, or I found this really interesting article that might have to do with this. So again, I'm not ever going into something and just opening a blank sheet of paper or a screen and not knowing what to do. But the Google Doc thing has been really good, and that's been helping out with the emails too, because I craft the emails, or sometimes I'll actually dictate those emails or what to say, and somebody comes in, gets those MP3 files or that transcription, and then takes it from there. So that's another process we use, which has been really cool.
Yeah, and we treat those emails like a publication. So they are on the editorial calendar. They're treated just like your blog posts are treated. So they're a part of the regular editorial production schedule.
Another thing that you suggested I do that worked out really well for at least for me is having specific days to do certain types of content.
Right.
For example, Monday is the day I write everything. And Tuesdays, I go into Tuesdays, and I know that that's the day that I'm going to be doing podcast episodes, whether I'm doing an interview for SPI or I'm on somebody else's show. That's only happening on Tuesdays. And then Wednesdays are sort of our meeting days when we meet together and, we talk over plans and things like that. So that's been really helpful. Is that a technique that is normal, or like that we could all use, or is that something you picked up somewhere else, just, really focusing on one certain kind of task per day?
Yeah, I think it is something that I've applied for general productivity. It's kind of that idea of the one thing, like what are you focusing on? What's the most important thing you're going to do today? What is the one thing that you're focusing on for the day? And for you, Pat, what I was hearing when I came onto the team, what I was hearing is that there wasn't a lot of consistency with when you were working on your content. You were just kind of doing it whenever you had time, and particularly with the blog and with writing.
Yep. And
so one of the things that I wanted to do was, because as the managing editor, what I'm doing is I am assigning the tasks for everyone, including you. So I basically tell you when your deadlines are and when you have to do the writing, when you have to do the recording, and all of that. All of that is managed in CoSchedule, and I'm the one who's actually putting those deadlines on the calendar. And so it made sense for me to look at your production schedule and be like, okay, what makes the most sense for Pat and what he's doing on a weekly basis? It makes most sense for him to spend one day writing, and you were kind of already in the routine of doing your podcast interviews on Tuesdays. And so I made Monday your writing day and Wednesday your meeting day, and Thursday is sort of like, okay, if you need to catch up on a blog post, you can do it on a Thursday. But with that idea of banking your content ahead of time, and everyone, including you, can kind of batch produce their component of the project, I wanted you to be able to do that as well. And that's where that concept came from, with like the idea of doing blog posts on Mondays, podcasts on Tuesdays, etc.
Yeah, and that worked out really well. And some of you might be laughing, like, Pat, you hired this person to come and like tell you what to do and when you're supposed to do things, but it's honestly great because As an entrepreneur, you get into this, and especially when you're just starting out, you're doing it all on your own and you have to wear all the hats. And honestly, some hats fit better than others. And sometimes you need somebody else to come on and tell you what to do, especially if they're an expert. And so I was really happy to have Jana come on, and we joke a little bit because we call her the whip cracker. She cracks the whip on all of us to get our stuff done, and especially on me because I have these tasks and I miss my deadlines sometimes. And Jana, you do a great job of respectfully telling me that I miss something and that things have to be fixed. And that always lights my fire. Like, I always feel bad when I do that. And I always end up catching up eventually. But without you, I feel like everything would just kind of snowball and I would get far behind and just never catch up. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm happy to do it.
If somebody were working on their own, how could they hold themselves accountable to a certain calendar day? I think that's a really, really important question that hopefully you can provide some answers for. But the first thing, you have to create these dates. I think that's one of the most important things. You have to create these deadlines for yourself. If you don't do that, you can always say, well, I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll do it whenever.
Right.
And so that's the first thing. It's just like creating goals. Goals are better if there's a specific deadline. You're going to be more amped to get them done. But beyond that, what are some things that we could do to really pressure ourselves, I guess, to meet those deadlines?
So a couple things. One, I would say understand yourself and your personality and what motivates you to keep the deadlines and do what you say you're going to do. So, for example, this is going to reveal what kind of nerd I am. I really enjoy checking things off. So if you have a list and you cross it off, and CoSchedule actually facilitates this little geeky pleasure that I get in seeing all the tasks checked off, because you click the box, it checks the task off, and I love logging into CoSchedule at the end of the month, and if we're on schedule, and I look at everybody's tasks, and they're all checked off. It's like, it's like a clean slate,
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. It's like a odd reward system for seeing the visual accomplishment of the task being complete. But if the external accountability is really necessary, I would say just ask a friend or again, a significant other, somebody who's close to you in your life that could be that person to be like, hey, you said you were going to blog on Monday. Did you do your blog today? Whatever it is, and maybe it's a text message, maybe it's a phone call, whatever kind of relationship you have with somebody. Even if you're starting out and you have a small online following, maybe just on Twitter say, hey, I'm trying to meet this goal of posting a new blog post every Monday. I'd love for you guys to help keep me accountable. Just tweet at me on Mondays and make sure I'm doing what I want to be doing, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I love that. I also think about who I would be letting down if I didn't, not just you and the team, Jana, but those who could potentially benefit from the content that I produce and the podcast that they listen to. I mean, I always try to think of those on the other end, the audience. And if I were late or if I just am lazy about it, that's a very selfish way to think. And I feel like the more I consider who I'm doing this content for and why I'm spending all this time doing it, man, it lights that fire under me. And I always seem to find a way to get it done after that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Jana, this has been a great conversation. I think we've picked up some great tips and also some tools that you mentioned. So you mentioned, let's go over some of these tools and maybe just cover any other ones that you end up using during your process. So we talked about Google Drive and spreadsheets, of course. Spreadsheets are one of the most amazing things in the world, especially when outlining your content. And one of the byproducts of actually creating these spreadsheets for future content is that now we have this running list and spreadsheet of all the content we've done in the past. So if we ever wanted to organize it in a specific way or recategorize them like we've recently done on the new redesign, it's a lot easier to do that. So spreadsheets, you also mentioned CoSchedule. If you go to smartpassiveincome.com/CoSchedule, you can check it out there. And they've been a sponsor to the show too before. They're an amazing company. Garrett Moon over there is just an awesome guy, super smart. What are some other tools that you use or one could use to help with managing content? Or are there any other ones needed, really?
No, I would say those like Google Drive and CoSchedule are great places to start. Maybe Dropbox. if you're still using like Word, you prefer to use Word files, you can store them in the cloud on Dropbox and have access then you have access to them on any computer if you're not at your own individual computer. Yeah, other than that, I think those are great places to start.
Well, that's good then. That's not too much. It's just a matter of just doing it then, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Janet, thank you so much. Is there anything you want to give a shout out to or a link to or anything, like your magazine or I don't know, usually we have guests on who have websites and they're sharing their website, but here you are, you're part of Team Flynn. So is there anything we could do or where could people find out more about you, I guess?
Yeah, I would love that. My personal website is jannamarlies.com. It's spelled JANNAMARLIES. And my magazine is called UnderTheGumtree.com. I publish creative nonfiction and visual art, so it's true personal storytelling. And that website is UnderTheGumtree.com. I would love it if people checked out that magazine. It's my pet project. It's my baby.
Love it. Awesome. Jana, thank you so much for coming on. And again, thank you for what you do for Team Flynn and the content that gets published on the site.
Oh, Pat, you're so welcome. I really enjoy working with you and the rest of the team, so I'm super excited to be able to chat with you, and hopefully this will be helpful to the community. So
it will be. I'm positive. Thanks, Jana. We appreciate you.
Cool.
All right, I hope you enjoyed that episode with Jana Marin. Again, she's the one who keeps this engine running here behind the scenes at SPI in regards to our content and just keeping things on schedule and on task. And so thank you, Jana. I know you're listening to this, and I hope everybody enjoyed it. If you want to get the links and the resources mentioned here in this episode, just head on over to smartpassiveincome.com/session215. Again, that's smartpassiveincome.com/session215. And I also, we talked about CoSchedule, the tool that we absolutely love and use here in Team SPI to manage our content and to automate our social media posts after we publish episodes and all that good stuff. So I wanted to bring on the founder, Garrett Moon, once again, like we did in a few episodes back here in this ad spot, because they're sponsoring this episode quite appropriately. And I wanted to bring him on to talk a little bit about what's coming next for CoSchedule. What are the upcoming features that we could all look forward to? And for those of you who are interested, you could try CoSchedule free for 30 days exclusively just for you guys. Go to coschedule.com/SPI. Again, that's coschedule.com/SPI. But here we go. Let's hear from Garrett about what's coming next. So Garrett, we talked about CoSchedule a while back in another ad spot. Here I want to talk about some of the cool things that are coming up that you shared with me earlier. I wanted you to share them with everybody out there who may or may not be using CoSchedule yet, but this is some of the stuff that's coming up. So what do we have to look forward to?
Well, we're building on some of the fundamentals of CoSchedule. We allow you to create content using WordPress, using Google Docs, Evernote, any number of our great integrations. And then we allow you to create that social media right beside it. So we're really combining your content and your social workflow, saving our users a ton of time. So a couple of the ways that we're hoping to do that with some new features is, one, we're going to be announcing Pinterest access here very soon,
nice,
which will allow you to, take that scheduling and apply it to another social network. And one where we're seeing a ton of traffic growth for a lot of our customers. So I think being able to incorporate that into their workflow is going to save them a ton of time, plus, hopefully bringing them more traffic to their site. The second feature that we're really excited about is a feature called Social Templates, which is going to allow you to save a group of social messages that you can apply in bulk to your blog posts or any pieces of content that you're publishing, and essentially create, couple dozen, however many social messages you want to create with a single click of a button. And you can customize them and stuff from there, but you're going to be able to reapply and schedule those things in bulk, which we're all about saving time and making that process easier. And if you're publishing content even semi-regularly, how time-consuming that social promotion process is, and this is going to make it instantly take just a couple minutes with every piece of content.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, my team goes in when a post gets published and adds in the social posts that go out on a time, like based on how many days after the post gets published. And to have templates would be great, because a lot of the podcast episodes, for example, and even some blog post types, they have this similar messaging through each of the social media that happens after that. So that'll save a ton of time. That's awesome.
Exactly. Man. And I think the other thing it does is it'll help you become better at consistently publishing older content, further out or down the road. We really advocate, publish the day or share the day of publish, the day after, a week after, a month after, and a template will help you do that without having to put all the work into it.
Yeah, very cool. Thank you, Garrett. Appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thanks, Pat.
Thanks so much. I appreciate you listening in, and I look forward to serving you in next week's episode. Until then, keep crushing it. Thank you so much. Love you guys. Cheers.
Thanks for listening to the Smart Passive Income Podcast at www.smartpassiveincome.com.
Hey there, quick pause here because I have to tell you about a tool that completely transforms the podcasting workflow, Riverside. I get it. I used to juggle multiple platforms just to record one podcast episode. It was exhausting. Zoom for recording, Audacity for editing, and then a bunch of different apps just to create clips and social posts. I've tried other ones as well. They were okay, but they were clunky and super time-consuming. That's where Riverside has massively helped. I can do it all in one place, recording, editing, repurposing, one platform, one streamlined flow. I just log in, record with my guests no matter where they are in the world, and just like that, studio-quality audio and high-resolution video all in one. And get this, even if your Wi-Fi glitches, Riverside records locally on your device so everything sounds and looks crystal clear. But here's my favorite feature, Riverside's AI editing tool. You can remove silences and filler words with just one click. Hours saved. With Magic Clips, Riverside also automatically finds the best moments and turns them into ready-to-post videos for YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Instagram, all without the extra editing. So if you're looking to level up your production quality and simplify your workflow, go to smartpassiveincome.com/Riverside and use code SMART to get 1 month free on the Pro plan. That's smartpassiveincome.com/Riverside, promo code SMART. It's built by creators for creators, and I think you're going to love it. More people dream about building their own business and being their own boss rather than retiring early. But a majority of them never even take the first steps to register the business. Why? Because starting a business can feel overwhelming. With legal forms, paperwork, finances, it's a lot. And that's where Taylor Brands comes in. Taylor is a complete business builder designed to make launching your business simple and stress-free. You can register your LLC in just minutes, keeping your personal and business assets separate from day one. And from there, you can get access to everything you need to get off the ground, from legal documents, licenses and permits, invoicing and bookkeeping tools, and even a 100-day business coaching program to help you hit the ground running. You'll also get a free personalized business plan, branding tools, and so much more. And of course, our listeners get an exclusive 35% discount to get started. Just head to taylorbrands.com/SPI. That's TAILORBRANDS.com/SPI. Stop dreaming, start building with Taylor Brands.